Guys, we're gonna go starting over. All right. Hey, welcome to another session of Ask Us Anything with FFL consultants JB and JC. We're glad you made it. I want to bring your attention to the slide. If you're new with us, here's our contact information. We also have a YouTube channel out there, FFL Consultants, as well as social media on Facebook and Instagram. But YouTube is where we kind of land all our important information. And we'll be using those channels in 2024 way more than we did in 2023. So you want to be subscribed to our channels. And on Instagram, we're at FFL Consultants. And on LinkedIn, we're at FFL Consultants. All right. I want to draw your attention to these phone numbers on the screen right now, guys. We have switched to a rollover service, which means if I'm busy, JC takes my calls automatically and vice versa. So if we're on a plane and you're using our old cell numbers that we started out with, they may not work and may not get your answer quickly. So going forward, please use these direct numbers for JC and JB. Choose either one, choose us both. You can text or call us directly and or leave a message. Our main number is also available there, 720-336-0028. That kind of gets you to the same place, but to get us quickly, dial us direct. Thanks, everyone. All right, what are we going to be going over today? Well, let's look at some updates. We'll be talking about the never-ending discussion on stabilizing arm braces. We'll talk about some new laws for 2024 that you need to know about for January. The new Form 4473 that takes effect in February. We're going to discuss selective traces, something new on the scene. We've had about 25 calls on this issue, and we want to explain it to you clearly. And then we'll give you some ATF revocation information. We will not be doing the audit update this month, ATF audits, but I will tell you, I got one call a half hour ago. They're starting down there in Arkansas, rather, at one of our clients. And on Friday, they started elsewhere. I think it was Michigan. So they are not on vacation. They're not taking time off. They are out looking for violations and errors. So make sure you get your stuff in play. Your good stuff. Over in the Compliance Corner, we're going to talk about some scary stuff. We're going to show you issues and I want to say audit findings JC and I have had over the last 2 months. Eye-opening and concerning. We want to go through navigating the Adverse Action program with the ATF. JC is going to highlight his concerns there for you so you have a great understanding of that. And then here comes FFLC Academy. We are super excited about launching our online learning management system. It's called FFLC Academy. We'll tell you more about that in just a minute. And you'll be lucky you joined today to view. And then we'll end with our rapid fire, Ask Us Anything. But first, let me, I got to tell you a quick story, and we're going to be talking with Trent Morrow from Morrow Ammunition Company. Trent, if you're on, go ahead and get that camera on and unmute yourself. But I visited Trent about a month ago. He joined up with the PRM service over at NSSF, went down and did his compliance visit. And I was amazed at how this, I want to say young man, because I'm not so young anymore, we've taken Trent from licensing to success. And we're very happy to talk a little bit about him, introduce him to you. Trent isn't in the firearms business, he's in the ammunition business. So Trent, are you there? Just hit that space bar, Trent.
I can hear him, JB.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, let me do this. Let me try this. How about Trent? Do I get you now? All right. For some reason, I'm not hearing him. So
I can hear him. He's got the comm.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and talk and introduce a topic and see if you can somehow convey that he's finished. All right.
Good to go.
All right. So what I was amazed at is Trent is a full, I want to say small guy, small gun dealer fulfillment center for ammo. And, we all have the challenges, and I hear it all the time, that you can't get certain rounds or calibers because you're the little guy or last on the list. And the big guys aren't, they got to meet quotas, or they have pre-orders, or, other clients with big buying power, so to speak. But I said, Trent, I said, I love your website. You're catering to the consumer. You're selling a heck of a lot of ammo. What about local dealers and going wholesale? And he said, I am. And I said, well, tell me more about it. And evidently, he's out there in Austin, Texas, and catering to supply needs for all his local FFLs who can't otherwise get either specialty caliber or the amount of caliber, that they're looking for, the amount of ammo. So, Trent, why don't you give us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what your focus is? JC, I can't hear it, Trent, at all, but can you carry this?
Yeah. So Trent, how do our subscribers, our listeners today get a hold of you? Excellent. Well, thanks, Trent, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Again, folks, you want to reach out to Trent, you can certainly go ahead and direct message him through the chat today as well. But there's his email address, phone number. Check him out. And Trent, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and JC, I'm sorry I can't hear you, Trent. Technical difficulties here in the Baca house, but long story short is turnaround guys, shipments turn around 5 days. I don't know if Trent told you that. His guys are great down there. I just couldn't believe how efficient they were. Get it in, get it out is their motto. So great to have you on board, Trent, and thanks for attending today. All right. All right, JC, let's talk about the stabilizing arm braces.
All right, we're already getting questions in the chat about this. There is a preliminary injunction on ATF ruling 2021R-08F on the stabilizing braces. Now, understand what that means. You'll probably be receiving some stabilized braced firearms from various entities around the country. And yes, for right now, it is legal to possess, legal to transfer. They are once again a pistol. So no NFA. It's very, very much up in the air. We are monitoring this very, very closely. Unfortunately, the Attorney General's office has gone ahead and filed their intent to appeal and notified all parties of same. Very unusual that they did not actually go ahead and request a stay on this preliminary injunction. We're anticipating it at any time. Some call outs, remember, be very cautious. You need to be paying attention if you decide to go down this path because something could happen at any minute with this. So keep in mind that amnesty period has expired. So anybody buying them, if the rule changes, they're going to have to remove that arm brace again, and they're not going to be able to submit that Form 1 for free. It will be the $200 tax if they want to keep it on there. Our speculation, as well as many in the industry, many of the experts and attorneys in the industry, the speculation is this will eventually get overturned. But as we all know, it takes multiple years for this stuff to go through the process. And once again, the appeal was at the lower court level, so it's really going to probably take going all the way up to SCOTUS in order to get a final decision on this. So all I can tell you is if your risk appetite is such that you wish to go down this path, be very cautious and advise your customers things could change in no time at all. So it could be a matter of it'll be legal today and illegal tomorrow, or even worse, it could be legal today and illegal this afternoon. So just be very aware of that and be very careful. We're getting a lot of phone calls from folks with regard to the preliminary injunction, and more so, hey, I just received a braced AR pistol because all the big boys are shipping them out, selling them online and such. I would just tell you, be very, very cautious with this. And it's all up to how quickly you can get the information in your hands to stop selling these things. So just be aware. For right now, yep, everything game on, but just use caution.
Yeah, and we've had inspections last week where the ATF was on site, and they didn't even mention it. So
Yeah.
I think they're just avoiding the controversy and counting them as either pistols.
The National Shooting Sports Foundation and others have sought guidance from ATF on this, and we're still waiting for that. and I'm sure they're trying to figure out what to do as well. So, it's just a wait and see game.
All right. Thanks, JC. All right, guys, let's talk some state updates for 2024. And this list may not be all inclusive, but we want to make sure you know what's happening next couple of weeks. And over in Illinois, unfortunately, they've lost their battle with fighting the Protect Illinois Communities Act. And they have their mandated registration of all assault weapons by on or before January 1st for all citizens, non-licensees, anyone with FOID cards. And the numbers are very interesting. I think there's somewhere in the range of 3 million FOID card holders that may or may not have purchased AR weaponry in the last 10 or 20 years, and they're all supposed to register them before January 1st, and less than 1% have registered. So when we meet again in January, we'll bring you the actual numbers. But if you've been keeping track of this, very few citizens at all have taken to register their assault weapons as they're classified. And be interesting to watch. And that is legislation is also being hopefully going to be reheard or heard by the Supreme Court come the beginning of 2024. Washington State, guys, you guys are in so much trouble, not only as a dealer, but as a citizen. You can't buy a gun in Washington State, or impractical to buy a gun starting January 1st. There's all types of registration, training, qualifications, certifications going into effect as of January 1st. JC and I are going to try to do a special session with our Washington State FFLs and members. As we learn more about this, the program hasn't clearly been defined as to who's going to oversee it and how citizens wanting to buy guns can actually go through this process to qualify. So we don't know. It's going to be a standstill and a slow start to January for Washington State. So let's just go ahead and hold our breath on this one. I hope some miracles happen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, California, your wonderful governor signed a bill, and actually the bill was passed. He signed it, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, adding another 11% excise tax on guns and ammunition purchases, as if they weren't already excessive. Just another hoop to jump through. If they can't get you at legislation, they're going to get you in the pocketbook. Colorado, the ghost guns are illegal for all come January 1st. Colorado's tried to get some other laws enacted, but failed. They wanted a 21 and over rule for all gun purchases, but that failed. But they are all ghost guns illegally manufactured without serial numbers. New guns, not old guns, but new guns manufactured will be illegal come January 1st. And the first offense is a misdemeanor. Stay tuned for more on that. Now, if you know of any other state legislation that we didn't mention today, please drop it in the box. We were looking for Wisconsin and Michigan and some of the other blue states, and we weren't able to find anything breaking in January. So inform us if you can. All right, here it comes. New 4473. This is not news, but it is new. Again, required on February 1st. Hopefully all of you know about that. We do realize that some of the software providers have not yet updated their software. As typical, they wait till maybe the last minute, a couple of weeks before the deadline. I know of one that waited to the day before the deadline back in December 2022 for the April update. But here you go. The new forms are available. If you're using paper, order them now. Don't wait. There's going to be a run on them. Or people are going to be running at the last minute if some of these software providers don't kick in time. The updates aren't very complex, but the software has to be reprogrammed and upgraded and reinstalled, et cetera, et cetera. So at least get some forms if you haven't. Get some forms or download them from the ATF site, at least for training purposes for your team. We actually have some great news. We're going to be launching a program very shortly here. We'll be talking to you about it in a few minutes on our new learning management software that's going to take your employees right through that new 4473. So we're going to be reinforcing the changes with old employees, training new employees, and providing training records for you to say your employees have been trained and should be compliant. And then lastly, we did revise the Before You Begin guide for your first-time gun buyers. anyone new to the Form 4473 or anyone who hasn't filled it out in the last 5 years and noticed all the changes, the guide is available through the link we sent today. If you clicked on a link that was sent today, we went ahead and installed a link in there for you to download the revised before you begin guide, which coincides with the new 4473 starting in February. So go ahead and download it, get it, use it, and call us if you have any questions. Let's talk about selective traces. Well, here's a new one. What the heck is a selective trace? Well, I see some of you on the phone here on the call. I'm looking at your names, and you've been through this process. Again, we've gotten 25 or so calls on this in the last couple of months where an ATF investigator, quote unquote, will call you asking for all of the transfers for John Doe customer for the last 2 years. And you say, okay, because it's the ATF calling. And then you get off the phone and you start to panic and you call us and say, what is this? I've never had this type of trace before. Well, because of the new ATF programs instituted under the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act under the Biden administration, the ATF has a couple of new laws in place whereby they can go after gun traffickers or gun resellers, folks selling without a license, in different ways than they could before. Now, we think that's kind of a good thing. That a gun dealer who's not doing background checks, yeah, that guy needs to go away. So this is one way the ATF is trying to catch up with them. If they know there's somebody doing these activities in your area, whether it be trafficking or reselling, they're going to call you and say, hey, we're after John Doe, but they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to say, give us all the firearm transfers you have for John Doe for the last 2 years. And you may not have any, and that's what we're finding. They're just scouring the local FFLs in a given area where they think John Doe may have, or Susie Doe may have gone ahead and purchased firearms in multiples or just many from different dealers for illegal purposes. So that's what this is all about. So first of all, don't panic. If the ATF is calling you, and they are qualifying them as selective traces because they're not an urgent trace and they're not a regular trace, as we know before, for a gun lost or stolen or involved in a crime. These are to basically support their investigative process to find how many guns John Doe bought or may have bought. And in one case 2 weeks ago, and I want to just thank my friends down there in Arkansas who were panicking, and after 2 days of scouring their records, because they do have all paper records, looking through bound books and looking through 4473s, they were remiss to call me and say they didn't have any traces, any transfers for this one customer. And when that information was returned to the ATF, they said, oh, okay, thanks. We just didn't know if he had purchased anything in your store. So anyway, you do have to comply, reply timely, ask for the request. If you get one of these requests, ask for it via email, make it official, make sure it's the right person asking for the information. Make sure you know who you're returning the information to. Be sure to review all of the 4473s 2 or 3 times. And make sure you log all of this activity in your ATF communication log, as it will help you support the fact that you replied timely or to the best of your abilities. So that's what the selective traces is. Again, if you get it, you can call us. We'll walk you through it again. But don't panic if you can't find transactions for somebody they're calling about. All right. Talking about some ATF stats. We're not going to talk about inspections, but rather just revocations. And we actually got our hands on some interesting information last month, information we haven't seen before, and I don't think you've seen it before. But here's the deal. Here's the last 3 years of ATF revocation activity, inspection and revocation activity. In 2021, 22, and 23, here's the number in the second column here. You see the number of FFLs revoked after the hearing, which means they didn't do so well, did not have supportive or defensive arguments explaining why the violations occurred, may have been truly negligent or willful in their negligence. Anyway, these guys in the second column, 165 of them, didn't have a chance. Okay, they didn't make it through. They probably paid a lot of money, probably hired JC or myself or lawyers to help them through the process, or may have gone alone and failed. All right. Now in the next column, FFL, the third column, FFLs not revoked after hearing. Let's call these the success folks. These 164 folks were able to make it through a hearing, have the right documentation on arguments and presentation in play to convince the ATF judicial DIO and the Attorney General's office thereafter that they should be able to keep their FFL. Now they keep it. Now they keep it with a warning, and that's a whole different story JC will discuss in a minute. But they made it through phase one of the process. I'm sure they have corrective action plans to get better at what they do and make commitments to never do anything wrong ever again to keep the license. All right, here's what I want to draw your attention. It's this fourth column. It says FFLs voluntarily ceased operations after inspection. Voluntarily ceased operations. We used to call that a surrender. And that's where the ATFFL surrenders their FFL without due process, without a hearing, without an argument, without an attorney, and they just give up the ship. We had 127 of those over the last 3 years. We did not know what this number was. It's much higher than we thought it was, but that's the ATF saying, you're probably going to lose your license. Why don't you surrender it now? And that's what happened. Unfortunately, in the end, there's almost 500 folks involved in this process over the last 3 years. If you recall our earlier presentations, in any given year, there may have been 40 at most, maybe 41, according to our records, who have been revoked in years past. Nothing like the numbers you're seeing here, certainly nothing close to 500. And at the end of the day, 292, almost 300 folks closed their doors, but 500 of them had to pay the price. So we don't want you to be one of those folks. So we've come up with some great solutions for you as we have in the past. We've got another great one for you coming shortly today. Let's jump over to Compliance Corner. We like this part of the program. This is where we tell you about stuff happening out there. Well, we've taken a different approach out there this month. And instead of telling you the same old thing and don't do this and don't do that, JC and I were talking. We said, let's just show them what we're seeing. So here's the scary stuff we've been seeing over the last 2 months since we last talked with you. These are from 4473s that have been reviewed by other folks before we sat down and looked at them. Now, when we come and do the mock audit inspection, we act as an ATF inspector. We go through the entire same process from inventory reconciliation right through 4473 review and policy and procedures. And here we go with a box 36 issues. Date transfer. This was October of 2023. It looks like an employee forgot to add a couple numbers on there. So this is something we can't afford to do. If the ATF inspector saw that, it would be a revocation because it's an illicit or illegal or incorrect transfer date. Now, we did verify this in the bound book, and it was 2023, so they just need to make this correction before the ATF shows up. Let's go look at this next one. It is an expiration date on an ID. This is by far the most prominent error that any FFL makes on the 4473. And we're talking about your errors, not the customer errors, because your errors are more important than the customers in most cases, because you're the expert, you are the licensee. But in this case, as you can see, above the certification date was 9/2/23. Our employee was moving really fast, looking at the ID, getting the background check information input, I'm sure, and they put the wrong date on there, but we were able to correct that. Next, let's look at, this is box 27B. This is the NICS NTN number or state NTN transaction, state transaction number for submitting your background check. What do we see here? Well, we see a number. It kind of looks a little weird. JC and I know what the coding is to a typical coding to an NTN number. The prefix was not correct for this location. I quickly glanced up and saw the driver's license number up here start with 208 and said, oh, that's what happened. They put the driver's license number down here by mistake in 27B. Not allowed, bad, invalid background check. But again, luckily they had their backup. They printed the NTN status report for this transaction as they do it all. and file them in the buddy files. We were able to locate that. We were able to confirm that they actually had a legitimate background check done on this day. If I just blocked out some of the numbers to protect the innocent, but we were able to go ahead and correct that. Let's go forward. The next one is another expiration date. I told you this is the most common problem we see. Here they simply took 9/23, inserted it down here as an expiration date for the license. No, it's not late. I mean, coincidentally, someone's ID can expire on the date of certification, but that was not true. Luckily, they had copies in their system, and we were able to verify the expiration of their driver's license. So again, able to correct this, but if it was the ATF looking at it, it would be a problem. This one was concerning because the employee listed last year's date or last year as the certification date for the NICS submittal. And in this case, it was 2023, not 2022. But again, if it was identified during an inspection, it would be an invalid background check. Here we go over to 27B again. Boy, we're really dialing in on this because before zero tolerance, JC and I are honest with you guys, we weren't looking at 27B and we never stopped during our inspection process because it slowed us down to count that there's actually 9 digits here. But a NICS number is 9 digits. Now, some of your state agencies may have different numbers. They may have 2 sets of numbers in some states, you know that. But most states, if you're dealing with FBI NICS, you got a 9-digit alphanumeric sequence for your NTN. That's the number that should be here. This one was 8. They're in the process of correcting that before they get inspected, obviously. All right, this one should jump out at you very quickly. And remember to drop those questions in the chat box if you got them. But here, if we look at 27I, oops, forgot this one. Now we could have, I think we had 5 total, JC, on this one. Missed 21 I question.
Yeah, there was a few things wrong on that.
So not checking a box is really bad. Even if they pass a background check, they did not self-identify whether or not they're prohibited or not prohibited, and this is an invalid and an incomplete background check. Don't want to see that one. That one's the bad one. And then here's the last one, guys. Not to bore you. I hope I'm not boring you, but this is a very concerning issue we're seeing across the country. All right, because many states have started to truncate or shorten their middle names on driver's licenses for various reasons without conversing with or discussing with the ATF or any other government agency who might be in need of that middle name for identification purposes. The FBI needs the middle name to do a very qualified and specific background check on, say, John Smith versus John Jr. Smith or John Jason Smith. If John Smith is just listed as John J. Smith on a background check, you're probably going to not find the right person. You're probably going to get a proceed. You may not get the appropriate hit or prohibition if, in fact, John Jason Smith was a problem character. Now, in this case, you got to scratch your head and say, how the heck did this 4473 wind up like this? And we know why, and you probably know why. It's because the customer wrote their full legal name as they're required to, but our employee went ahead and said, hey, your ID only has a middle initial R, so why don't you just make it an R and put IO after it? That is completely wrong, completely illegal. Somebody's committing a felony here. Is it the employee or is it the customer who is changing the form or not being truthful on the form? So, hey, this is bad, bad, bad. This transaction or transfer is being re-examined by the FFL, and I'm not going to discuss how we're correcting that one. All right. JC, let's take it away and discuss it.
Oh, here we go. Adverse action. So administrative action from the ATF. Let's go over a few things here because it really never surprises me with some of the conversations that I've been having lately with FFLs around the country who unfortunately are facing administrative action of some sort or have, gone through an inspection and the IOI has said those dreaded words, well, I need to talk to my boss. You hear those words, you better pick up the phone and call us because something ain't good coming down the pipe at you. So first and foremost, there's a report of violations, right? And this is just a snapshot of one. If you haven't seen one before, it actually says report of violations right at the top of it, and it has your information as well. But essentially, this is the first step. This is what you're being cited for as far as their inspection, the firearms compliance inspection. It's really critical for you to be paying attention at all points during an ATF firearms compliance inspection, just so you know what's going on, just so you are aware of their findings ahead of time. So maybe, hey, I have a question about that, or hold on a second, because I may have that, or whatever the case may be. There may be an opportunity for you to challenge a violation that the industry operations investigator finds. So be aware of that. So this is the starting point, right? This is at the end of the firearms compliance inspection. They're going to review all of the cited violations with you, and they're going to document them on a report of violations. At this point, typically the closing conference is going to be scheduled with you. They're going to say, hey, we're all done, or hey, we're almost done. Let's have the closing conference on Thursday. Now, keep in mind that you may not get a report of violations. You may be one of the 55% of FFLs out there that does not get a report of violations. In that case, the closing conference will be, hey, you did a great job. These are a few of the things that we see you're doing. Maybe you want to do it a little differently, but all in all, you're good. Let's go over what's called the acknowledgement of regulations, which every time you have an inspection, they'll go over that. Now, if they say that, hey, listen, you got some citable violations, we're going to review the report of violations, ask the IOI if they're willing to give you a draft copy, so that way you can review it ahead of time and prepare yourself for that closing conference. We don't want you going into this thing without having your head on straight and having some really good responses as far as the violations that are going to be cited. I would tell you that, you either want to reach out to us, or maybe you want to reach out to your attorney and have a conversation before you actually provide any responses. Because remember, the responses you provide will be recorded and memorialized indefinitely. So anything you say can come back and bite you. So you might want to just craft or draft your responses to any cited violations ahead of time, so that way you can give good, worthwhile responses, because this thing is going to go up. So if it is going to face administrative action, it's actually going to go up the chain at the ATF field division, and they're going to look at your responses. And if you just come back with, well, that was human error, that's not good enough. All right. So always make sure you request a draft prior to that closing conference. You want to try to correct or reconcile as many errors as you possibly can. Where permissible, obviously, you can't correct something that the customer or transferee buyer did, but you can certainly call them in and go through the proper process for correcting something. But you want the ability to say, we reconciled that, we fixed that, we had the customer come in, whatever the case may be. The best defense is a good offense, right? You have got to be able to deliver on anything that was cited. So we want you to either provide a good explanation as to why it happened, what corrective action has been taken, and what you're going to do in the future. So be really aware of that. Feel free to pick up the phone. We get phone calls weekly with FFLs that are going through inspections saying, hey, they found this. What do you think? So just be aware of that. All right. Once the closing conference is done, and say you had some real critical items, maybe they impact public safety, or they're critical to your processes as an FFL and conducting lawful commerce in firearms. Once you go through that closing conference and that IOI maybe says to you, well, I got to talk to my bosses about this, I don't know which way it's going to go, you could be facing a couple different opportunities as far as administrative action. And the first one we have,
JC, let me jump on this real fast. So guys, any of you, JC hit on it. If you've never been for an inspection, this is critical for you to know and understand. If you've never been through, if you've never had a bad inspection, look at this notice of revocation, report of violations, commonly known as an ROV. But they get very, very specific. I mean, every line item on here is referencing to a 4473 typically, or something in the bound book.
Yep.
Okay. And every one of these left columns is a different statute or law that pertains to the violation cited. And that is why they're scanning they're allowed to scan the 4473s that show violations or take pictures. They're typically using a scanner on their phone. Don't get in a tizzy. They're allowed to do it because then they go back to the office and they've got to itemize each and every violation that they saw while doing your inspection. And then even note over here in the far right column which version of the 4473 was referenced. So every one of these is a 4473, and this is just one page out of a 30-page report of violations. So just know it's bad if it's bad. And they have to take the time to document all the details. So don't get in a tizzy if your closing conference, as JC just explained, is 2 or 3 weeks down the road, because it takes time for them to put this all in the computer.
All right. So your first step is a warning letter. That's kind of step one. That's kind of the least, administrative action item the ATF can issue you. And again, egregious, failures. We've seen all kinds of warning letters for all kinds of reasons. So there's no one thing you get a warning letter for, but essentially it's not so egregious that you get a warning conference or go right to revocation, but you got to be paying attention. And a lot of the time we get FFLs who call us and say, hey, listen, they're trying to revoke me, or the IOI is saying that they have to go talk to their bosses or whatever, this isn't good, things like that. And when I asked the FFL, have you ever faced administrative action before? No, we've had inspections in the past, and it's always been just errors or clerical errors or something like that. And then as I dig in more and more, I start to ask those questions of, well, have you ever gotten a letter from the ATF talking about the inspection? Oh yeah, I've got one of those, or I've gotten 7 of those. I've had FFLs that have told me they've gotten 4, 5, 6, 7 of those. A warning letter, I've asked the ATF many times to say, can you just put something at the top of this letter that says your license is in jeopardy? Because what FFLs aren't realizing is that warning letter, it means something. It's an administrative action. It's saying, hey, you need to wake up. You need to make sure that you're doing things properly. And keep in mind, a warning letter, we had an FFL that called us and said, I don't know why the ATF is back here. They were just here 12 months ago. Well, did you receive a warning letter? No. Did you receive anything in the mail? Oh yeah, I did get a letter. It said something about my inspection. Well, that's why they're back. Administrative action means they're coming back within 12 to 18 months to reinspect you to see if you're taking it seriously and you're correcting issues. You're correcting any of the problems that were previously found. So you really need to be paying attention to this and keep this on file. Keep your reports of violations on file. I don't know how many times when I go through a notice of revocation or a warning conference, I ask the FFL, hey, do you have your reports of violations? Oh, no, I don't know what happened to them. They're around here somewhere. You need to make sure you're paying attention, because if you have any repeat violations, it could land you in a warning letter. So the next step in this, again, take warning letters very seriously, but the next step is warning conference. And once again, I've had FFLs, I've asked them, hey, have you gotten any warning letters? Have you gotten a warning conference? Anything like that? Oh, no. Well, have you ever met with the ATF about an inspection? Oh, yeah, we got together for a meeting and talked about what the problems were, and I told them I'd fix stuff. Well, again, it's a warning conference that needs to be taken a lot more seriously. This is kind of your last step. This is the calm before the storm, really. This is the ATF saying, I'm going to give you one more chance to go ahead and implement a compliance action plan that is going to work, that you're going to follow, and that you're going to ensure that you conduct lawful commerce in firearms. That means filling out the forms right. That means recording all of your firearms acquisition and dispositions. That means having a straw purchase prevention program. It's all the things that you are required to do as an FFL and making sure you're doing it correctly. When you go to a warning conference, there's an agenda. All right. They're going to discuss the reasons for your violations, and you're going to have to articulate a good reason why these violations are occurring. as well as what you're doing to fix them. And that's that compliance action plan. They're going to talk about your legal requirements, and they're going to tell you that any future violations, either repeat or otherwise, could be viewed as willful, plain indifference, and can result in your revocation. After your warning conference, after sitting down with the ATF and reviewing your violations, you're going to get a follow-up letter. And that follow-up letter is basically going to say, JB, go ahead and switch the slide. It's going to say, we had a warning conference with you. In that warning conference, you promised to take corrective action and fulfill all your commitments. So, and again, it's going to reinforce that any future violations, either repeat or otherwise, could be viewed as willful. Remember that willful and plain indifference. You sat down with the ATF, you promised to do it, and if you continue to do it, that is viewed as willful and plainly indifferent. That's where that comes in. And once you're done with that, God forbid they come back. And by the way, warning conference, 12 to 18 months, you're going to see the ATF again. And if they see the same violations, or they see more violations, or they don't see any improvement at all, you're going to go to revocation. And this is the one document you don't want to see. This is it. This is your final chance. You're now having to go in and defend your actions, defend your license. And you are essentially going to a revocation hearing, and you are going to offer the argument that it has to be so strong that the hearing officer recommends that you get to keep your license, because they have to qualify that with their leadership. They have to present the case to their leadership that says, I'm going to allow this person to keep their license, and this is why. And it's up to you to provide that to them. Now, I've had tons of FFLs say, well, can I just take the fine? No, the fine is specific to NICS and point of contact state violations only. It has nothing to do with the other violations. It's only a violation of your use of the NICS platform. So keep that in mind. You're not just going to go in and say, well, I'll take the suspension and the fine. No, that's not how it works. You're going to a revocation hearing. And then that revocation hearing, you can't offer any excuses. You can't say, well, it was just human error. It was just human error. You can't go in there and say, well, I can't imagine how any FFL can get through an inspection with 0 violations, because 55% of ATF inspections result in 0 violations. And don't get caught up in the informal language, an informal hearing. The only thing that's informal about that hearing is the fact that you're not sworn in. They'll have a court reporter. They record the entire transcript of the session. The ATF counsel will present their case. They'll present all their arguments. They'll conduct a direct examination of the IOI. And then they're going to give you the opportunity to question the IOI as well. So if your decision is to go it alone, you better be prepared, because just going in there willy-nilly and not having a plan is not the right way to go. Keep in mind as well, any statements you make, you are open to cross-examination as well. So if you make a statement, ATF counsel can cross-examine you and ask you questions, and it's all for the record. So again, this is your one chance, your last chance to keep your license, so you better make it good. Our recommendation is, and we support FFLs through both warning conferences and revocations, as well as inspections, either seek out support from us or seek out support from an industry attorney. Don't just go to a 2A attorney. Okay. You need to make sure that whatever attorney you choose is not only familiar with the laws, practices, and procedures of a federal firearms licensee, but you need to make sure they understand the procedures involved in the administrative process, the administrative action process, such as a revocation hearing. These are administrative proceedings. So the rules of court, the rules of evidence, and all that don't play into this. So that's why you have to make sure that you have a qualified attorney or a qualified regulatory compliance expert. So if you're going down this path, at least pick up the phone and call us, and we'll give you some guidance. We don't have a problem with that. Just to give you a heads up of what to expect anyway.
And the big thing, guys, here is you got to make an investment in this. Whatever investment it is, it's got to be more than zero, whether it be in training or your employees or reviews or going to seminars, ATF training days, or logging on with us, or talking to an attorney. Invest in it, because if you don't invest now on the front end of it, you will be investing a lot of money, much more money, on the back end. And JC, what's the average hearing going for now?
You're looking at, if you get an attorney involved, and it's any of the attorneys that work with us, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be in the $100,000 range. I would tell you safely, it'll be less than 100 grand, but you're going to be in the $100,000 range. For us, yeah, 10 to 20 grand, depending, with all the work product and the days on site, prep, coach, building out your compliance action plan, reviewing. We're looking at 10 to 20 grand on average. Just depends on what the scenario is, how much history you have, etc. For an attorney without us is probably on the low end 50 to 60 grand. It really just kind of depends on the scenario overall. I can't really give direct amounts because every situation is different.
Yep.
We've had some happen for less than 10 grand, but they've only had a couple issues.
We got to move on, Jason.
Yep.
Okay. But guys, you got to make the investment in now. Get the prevention and proactive prevention in place. Don't hire us. Don't hire an attorney to fight it. Just don't get there. Do it right the first time. Exactly. All right, guys. Super exciting here. Super exciting. FFLC Academy. And then we're going to speed through some of this for the sake of time to get to your questions. But hey, FFLC Academy is finally here. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, coming soon. That means this week. Okay, we've been saying for a long time we're going to have this out. It's taken about a year to get it up and running. And here's what you need to know. If you're on this Zoom today, here's the place you can get to it. Courses, you got to make sure it's a secure site, https:// courses.fflc Academy, FFL Consultants Academy. Don't go to FFL Academy, you'll be disappointed. FFLCacademy.com, real easy. We'll share that again in a minute. But here's the website, landing page. We're real happy about what we've been able to produce. We've got another great John named JP. JC, JB, and JP out here building this out for you. So here's what it looks like. Here's the bottom of the landing page and all the lessons that are in play for you and your teams. This is where you can get trained and educated, both veteran employees and especially new employees. And you're going to be able to sign on, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. The first course we'll have is Navigating Firearms Categories and Types for Accurate A&D and Form 4473s. And I want to go ahead and say, my friends down in Mississippi, you know who you are. Thank you so much for pushing me to get this in play. You've been pestering me for 2 years to make this the first course, and it will be out this week. Next up in another week or two is Mastering Your 4473, Preventing Straw Purchases, Multiple Handgun Forms, Completing Background Checks and that whole section correctly, Delays, Denials, etc. And then Firearms Inventory Management, really focused on the bound book process and your manufacturer importer information. But anyway, those are the first 6. We're going to have these out hopefully in the next 8 weeks, we think. 8 to 10 weeks, have all of this in play for you and your teams. And that's really important, because all you need to do to take advantage of this, because you're on this live event today, we're giving you something great. You go to that login button right at the top, okay? It says login. You go to our page on the login, click it, and you'll be brought to a sign-in screen, and hence you've never been here before. So, your email and password you won't have one yet. So you just go to the bottom of the page there, and you'll get the sign-in box pop up where you'll enter your email, your password, and your confirmation of your password. It's that simple. It's that it. This we're giving to you for free, okay? This first course is just being put out there. You're the newbies. You're our ambassadors. You show up every month. We love you. We want to give you this right now for free. Just go sign up. It's that easy. Now, the course is not going to be available today, again, later this week, but you will be notified. If you sign up, you will be notified when it goes live, and you'll be the first ones to jump in and do what we call a test drive. Tell us how it is. Tell us if it's good, if it's bad, if we missed anything, if it's too long, etc. It's a cool course. Tells you everything about what's included. We got lesson plans, a certificate at the end. You take a quiz, you get your certificate. Continue taking that quiz until you pass. Drop that certificate in your training file or upload it to your social site, and be proud of your success. And get educated. I mean, education is the name of the game. So go ahead after you. We do want to ask a favor of you because of the way the software is set up, that after you initially sign in and become a student, you just go up and click this settings button at the top. It's real easy, and you'll be able to fill in your name. This little box will pop up and you'll just be able to fill in your name. We love to know who it is out there that we're talking to. And then you can always call, you can always use a contact button right here to drop us an email or a question or a suggestion right from inside the application. You can talk to us. JC and I will get those emails as soon as you send them, and we can reply right through the process, right through the app, and become a student. Initially, every individual has to sign up individually, but we are working on methods and systems to be able to assign the access to your company. If you're a multi-unit store chain, et cetera, that's all underway, all being worked on. But right now, just getting employees logging in, getting trained, getting their certificates, and getting educated. So the certificates are also easy to access. Once you're signed in and complete a course, you again go up to your settings button, and right from that menu, it drops down and gives you My Certificates, shows you what you've taken, what you're in the process of completing, what you signed up for, and reprint your certificates if you need them. All kept right there. We keep track of what you're learning. There you go. Again, real easy peasy. Here is the website again, our landing page. Go see it. It is live. Go test it. Go look at it. Go sign in. And guess what? If you're a VIP member, this is all free for you. So thank you. You are loyal VIP members. We love you. You've been with us for years. But JC and I just can't answer enough questions every day. I mean, the phone calls are getting ridiculous. They're all great, but the number and the volume is pretty heavy. So we want to give you more training, more learning, so that you don't have to call us all the time, and you can go right online and learn the information for yourselves. So thank you, VIP members. If you're not already a VIP, just go to our website and sign up. It's a much more affordable process down the road for getting involved in this program. There we are. And we're giving you guys a gift, like I said, because you're signing up today. You get the first 300. We will take the first 300 students signed up, whether it be today, tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday. We're going to cut off at 300 and give you 90 days free of all the FFLC access. All right. Take a picture of this screen if you want to. Write it down fast. Courses.fflcacademy.com. First 300 signed up, get free access. We're very happy to do that for you. And that's FFLC Academy. Moving real fast because of time. We got some great performances. It's been 2 months, so let's recognize Charlie in Kentucky. Kiki, I spelled Kiki wrong. Sorry about that, Kiki. Fred, Florida. Austin and Samuel, you know who you are. Kathy, Angelo, Paul, and Lawrence, Stan, and Chrissy. Hey, JC, did we want to see if Lawrence is available?
Yeah, Lawrence, you on?
Lawrence, if you're on from Virginia.
Hit your space bar to unmute. I don't know if he made it or not. Let me see if he put in here as his name.
Lawrence is not a VIP, but a loyal ambassador to our channel and our webinars. And he was super ecstatic last week to pass his ATF inspection with flying colors. And we applaud you, Lawrence, and everyone else on the list. Remember, if you have an ATF inspection, give us a ring. If it's great results, we want to put you on our.
Lawrence often listens in after it's been recorded because he's busy.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody, and good luck this month. All right, JC, can you say delay?
Delay. Tis the season for increased gun sales, so don't be surprised if you get a lot of delays. It's just because of manpower constraints as well as the volume of licensees running background checks. I had an FFL last week, and I would tell you a lot of their transactions in the month of December received delays and would receive a proceed on the same day. So don't be surprised by it. We've been getting a lot of phone calls. Just know that it's that time of year and that's what happens. Hey, and if you're still calling in, I want you guys, hey, if you want to call in, call in. I'm just going to tell you right now, NICS is starting to shift manpower away from those phones and is focused more on e-NICS. But definitely, if you're still calling in, you want to keep calling in, definitely sign up for e-NICS either way. The reason being is we want you to be able to run those reports and, in the event you need it, you'll have access to NTNs for the last 88 days. So keep that in mind. Sign up for e-NICS, whether you're calling in or not. Make sure that you're using that service if you are a NICS state.
All right. Hey guys, for the sake of time, we're just going to leave this up here for a minute. Take a screenshot or picture of it. These are the 9 deadly sins. We want to make sure you know them every month when we do our webinar. We're not going to go through these. We talked all about this throughout our conversation, and I'm sure we'll get some questions. But and this will be included as a PDF along with the video download that you'll get, the video link you'll get to this recording later this week. Yep. So again, we'll be sending this out to you. Here we
Gone
go.
over this a million times.
Yes. Coming to a city near you, we do have the list for spring 2024 ATF and NICS Day events. ATF, FBI, NSSF, NICS training days, we call them. Coming to a city near you. Just take a look quickly at the months. See if your city's on there. If it is, just make note of what month it is. We will be sending that list out in January, ahead of the beginning of the sessions in March. And we will have those on future events. We'll give you the dates by month where they are, but some of them are subject to change on location and that type of thing. So, but these are the cities that have been designated by month for the NICS training days in 2024. And then remember, JC and I are always on the road visiting FFLs, but we will also be at SHOT Show, the TAP event, Pacific Northwest Pawnbrokers, National Pawn Association, NBS, and Sports Inc. If any of you are attending any of those events, drop us a line ahead of time. Let us buy you a coffee or a beer and shake a hand when we see you. We love meeting our fans in the field. And then lastly, if you're not an NSSF member, we promote the program because it is the most cost-effective way for you to fight adverse action and get great compliance training anywhere across the firearms industry. The NSSF has been doing this since 1968. We're independent compliance consultants for the organization. We love them. We love you. We all love each other. So, hey, if you got questions, want to join NSSF, want to upgrade from regular to premium member, it's $750 a year. Can't beat that when the cost of litigation during a revocation is in the tens of thousands. So if you're worried about your compliance, get educated. But if that's not going to work, get protected, give us a call and join the NSSF program. Get it right the first time. Get it right the first time. GIRFT, we coined that phrase, I think. Again, this is a slide. If you're do these 9 things and you'll be well on your way to success. Again, we're not going to review these, but I'll include PDFs of these in the distribution later this week. I'll give you this and the 9 deadly sins. I'll include those as separate handouts so you can hand them out to your employees, use them in training meetings, and make sure everybody knows that it's critically important to be alert and be aware. All right, JC. Well, we did that fast, but we're ready for questions. It is 5 after the hour, and you have to leave at the half hour, right?
Yeah, I can stay a little bit longer. But...
Okay. All right. JC's traveling. I'm not. Yay. All right.
Yes,
JC.
I will be out in the field.
All right. You guys know how we do this. I kind of rattle through the questions. We try to give you the quick answer. JC, are you ready?
I'm ready, sir. Go for it.
All right. From Bob, what, if any, information do you have regarding the UN Small Arms Treaty? And any information if Biden's going to sign on to the UN's Global Gun Registry Treaty?
Heard a little bit about this. Wait and see. I know that there's some questions from Congress on this thing. So it's a wait and see right now. It's interesting that this all happened, especially with the Bureau of Commerce and Industry putting out that 90-day halt on exporting of firearms. So wait and see. We'll keep you updated on it. We'll put it on our list to monitor that situation and see where it's going.
All right. From Barry, is there any issue transferring a lower equipped with a pistol brace that just showed up from PSA?
No, there's not. A lower don't call it a lower. It's called a receiver. Completed or not, it is a receiver. That's all it is.
Yeah, don't go listing lower as a type. As you'll learn in our first session now on FFLC Academy, lower is not a definition for a firearm. Can't rate lower. It is a receiver, as JC said.
Receiver.
Yep. For importer, if there is none, do we list none, NA, or not applicable?
None marked or none visible in certain situations, but none marked is fine.
Yeah. And that's only if you have a field, will it be in your software? But the 4473 does not have an importer field. It says manufacturer / importer. So you don't have to like write none / Remington or none / Mossberg.
Right.
All right. So just keep it simple. All right.
Just remember it's manufacturer and importer, if any.
Right. Black powder pistols and rifles. What is the best way to determine if they can be converted to centerfire cartridge? This would determine if we need to log them into the A&D record.
Yeah, newer ones typically. It just really depends on the manufacturer. It's kind of a a Google it type situation as to whether or not they can. Most that accept black powder and a ball and require it and don't accept it, you'll know it. Just from the age of the firearm and the mechanics of the firearm.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Every time someone calls me one of these, if it's a newer black powder gun, usually like the slot from CFA and others, I even have to go out to the website and just look to see if it requires an FFL transfer, read about it, if it can be converted to fire a centerfire cartridge. So, I'll be honest with you guys, do your quick research, Google it, like JC said. If you call us, it's just going to eat up our time, more valuable time for other FFLs who have more complex questions.
Yeah, we don't have the answer for every firearm.
Yeah. Zach says, what's the ruling on AR pistols and frames? I think we went through that.
Yeah, there's a preliminary injunction, so just wait and see.
Yeah. From Michael, the DOJ has sent me a CID, civil investigation demand on one of my customers. They are asking for 4473s, Form 4s, invoices relating to several payments, etc. Is there anything I should be aware of? Are they fishing for things on me? I have never had any communication from DOJ, previous 3-letter government. Okay.
No, there's nothing unusual about that.
Yeah.
They've provided it to you in writing. You have to don't provide originals. If they come into the shop, provide copies, and make sure that any evidence you provide, you get an evidence receipt for it.
Yeah, this is very similar to that selective trace conversation we had earlier, that they have somebody in their sights.
Yeah.
They're coming for the evidence. Yeah. Just make sure you check it twice before you give it to them.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure that 4473 is correct.
All right. From Josh. Hey, Josh. My understanding, the rule against was not on the arm brace, but for the ATF in general making rules that are not part of the 1968. Yeah, the Administrative Practices Act is what the ruling was all about by Judge Krasmaskic. And the rule is that the Congress makes laws, not the ATF. So the gun brace and the bump stock and other rulings that have come into view under the ATF recently, these rulings have not been, I guess, legalized or passed correctly or passed at all by Congress, and therefore are unprosecutable. There's no legal.
CFRs derive from law. So if Congress hasn't voted on it, then how can you make it a law? And they're changing the laws as we speak. So they're changing the regulations. So we have had judges that have ruled on these and have actually stated that certain aspects of the ruling stand, but others don't. And that's similar to the frame receiver, the pistol brace, etc. They're changing the definition of a firearm. That's a different story from, say, having to record manufacturer and importer on a 4473. So.
Yep. Hey, Keith, thanks for letting us know. Nothing new in Wisconsin. Save me some research. Terry, thank you for the Illinois update. Says last number in Illinois, void card holders was 2.5 million. I said 3 million. I overestimated. With less than 0.01% that have reported ownership of assault weapons. And again, that includes a Ruger 1022, which is crazy. The most sold and manufactured firearm in America is that Ruger 1022 forever. Now illegal, has to be registered in the state of Illinois. Well, they also regulate pellet guns, so go figure. Shannon, how do you send got a question, send us a letter, send us a question directly. All right, do we, RJ, hello, RJ, the wonderful country of Illinois. Do we need to add country of manufacturer?
So here, and I've seen a lot of back and forth on the chat on that, and ATF ruling, and this is one of those situations. So ATF ruling 2021R-05F actually stipulates that manufacturers and importers, and that's why you see that importer field or that country of origin field, say on the NSSF A&D records that you can buy at the NSSF store. That's why you see two different A&D record books if you're still writing A&D acquisition and disposition records. So that ruling stipulated that the country of origin needs to be documented for manufacturers and importers. Now, there was a question somewhere, and I'm sure we'll get to it. US made, no. You don't need to put USA down. So it's only relevant to manufacturers and importers. 7s and 8s. So
JC, while we're on
7s,
7s,
8s, 9s, and 10s.
yeah, while we're on 7s, what's the ruling for 3310.12s on manufacturers?
The 3310.12. So this is all part of a demand program. So 3310.12 is not required by 07 manufacturers. It is not required to be submitted. It is only required for those FFLs type 1 and type 2 in those border states. That is Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. So keep that in mind. All right. 7s, you are not required to submit the 3310.12.
And for those that are other outside of the people who outside of the southern border states, that's the multiple report of specific rifles in those border states. So
yeah, and the form tells you what type of rifles.
Yeah, but others may not know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, Canyon.
Only border states.
Yeah, southern border states, not northern.
Yeah, not northern. Yeah. Nobody cares about sending a firearm to Canada, apparently.
Yeah. Canyon says, I'm in the process of getting my 07 FFL, the Bill Custom Rifles, mainly bolt actions. Can you explain the process of how it should be handled in your A&D books and 4473 when we purchase a bear action, for example, a Defiance action, and assemble it into a complete rifle to sell? So he's talking about the double entry.
Yeah. So if you're a manufacturer, what you're going to do is you're going to dispose of that firearm to yourself, to your FFL name and FFL number. Once you manufacture it into whatever you're done manufacturing it into and have marked that firearm, you then need to reacquire the firearm as whatever it is back into your acquisition and disposition record. Look at it as a chain of custody or the history of that firearm. You had it as a receiver or as a frame, whatever. You disposed of it to yourself. Then you made it into a handgun, rifle, shotgun, whatever. You've reacquired it, and that's the date of birth of that firearm.
And mainly that double entry is to change the configuration legally and basically date stamp the day it went from a receiver or an action to another type of firearm. Okay. Does the year have to be 4 digits or can it just be the last 2?
Yeah, it could be either or. If you want to put 2023 or the customer puts 2023, it's fine. If they put 23, it's fine. Either or.
Yeah. And Mary, we're definitely covering all of that in the next course, how to complete a 4473 on FFLC Academy. So all these little nuances, we're hopefully going to solve all those problems for all of you. All right. Mark, is there any notification requirement as a manufacturer to the ATF for non-NFA firearms manufactured? I don't know what that would be. Oh, non-NFA. Yeah, sure. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Is there any notification for non-NFA firearms manufactured?
No. Just your AFMR at the end of the year. You got to let ATF know how many firearms you manufactured.
All right. Gun out. And guys, if we are incomplete on any of these answers, feel free to email or call us directly afterwards later this week. We always answer your questions. All right. From Gun Owl. I don't know who that is, but Gun Owl. If people use 23 and not 2023, is that correct? The answer is yes. Okay. If a date is corrected from 23 to 2023, should a copy of the page be made and corrected or corrected on the original 4473?
If you're making the correction after the firearm has been transferred, it's left your store, then yes, you have to make a photocopy of the page with the error and make the correction on that photocopy and then attach that photocopied page to the original 4473.
But if the correction is made on or before the date of transfer in box 36, the correction is updated on the original.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Great question.
Prior to transfer, you can make it right on the form. After transfer, you got to make a photocopy.
Illinois DL and Ford codes did not have middle name. Yeah. Illinois DL and Ford codes typically do not have middle names, but customers do. What should we put on the 4473?
Anytime you have a situation where the primary ID is being used and it only has the middle initial, but the customer has identified that they have a full middle name, you're going to have to obtain some other form of identification or a government issued document that shows their full name. Now, it could be a social security card. It could be their birth certificate, as long as it's issued by a state agency. It could be their passport. It could be, believe it or not, we have a lot of times where it's not on the ID, but it's on a car registration, which is odd to me. So anything like that. And then what you would do would be to document that in 26B. Remember, the only thing that you need to document in 26B when you're looking at a secondary document to validate identification is who the issuing authority was and what it was you looked at. So if it was a car registration, say it was a Colorado DMV, you would just put Colorado DMV car registration. That's it. No control numbers, no expiration dates. We just had an inspection go on at an FFL and they put all this information in there. And guess what? They actually documented expiration dates that were where the document was expired. So keep that in mind. Issuing authority and what it was.
So I don't have to put my fishing permit number on there?
No fishing permits.
Okay.
Yeah, don't put a 1-day fishing permit and then, transfer the firearm on the 3rd day.
Well, no, you can use the fishing permit, just don't put an expiration.
Yeah, just make sure it isn't expired when you do the transfer.
Yeah. The other thing on those documents, make sure you're putting the issuing authority, right?
Issuing authority and what it is.
Yep. All right, Tony. Hey, Tony. We are seeing more and more where someone who immigrated into the U.S. We just talked about didn't have a middle initial, so we kind of went up to it.
See if you can get something else that's government issue.
Can you actually do a 4473 on a PDF instead of handwriting it? Basically, typing answers into the PDF and then printing it out, with the exception of signing the 4473. And this is what the ATF's E4473 system actually is.
Yep. Most of the systems that are out there that you can either purchase or use the ATF system, they all end up being a PDF.
Yeah, and they print it out, and then the customer either electronically signs it using a signature pad, or they sign it with a pen.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's okay. A lot of questions come in. Can I have printed, typed, computer printed information on the form and handwritten pen information on the same form? Absolutely. Absolutely. If we request a draft of the citable violations and they do not provide it before the closing conference, what is the best way to proceed?
In that situation, if they won't provide it to you before the closing conference, that's fine. Just say, hey, can you give me a few days to craft responses? I want to make sure that I get thoughtful responses.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. You do not have to sign off on that closing conference after they spend their 4 hours with you, do you? Immediately.
No, you do not have to sign it.
You can ask for a couple of days to, like as you said, to craft your answers.
To review it and craft some responses, discuss stuff with your managers or employees, so you provide good responses.
Yep. Yeah, signing off and letting the ATF leave is like signing a death sentence. You sign it, you own it, right?
Yep.
On the Barry, on the early slide listing Washington state rules, a state certain training is required by a semi-automatic assault weapon. Yeah, I thought all semi-auto rifles, shotguns were now classified as assault weapons and banned, period. Am I mistaken, or is just another example of any extremely poorly written law? I want to say we took that right from the law over the weekend. So so Barry, you have to go read it and interpret it. But the training that is there is what is handwritten, what is in the law, rather, in the statute. Sorry about that. We could talk more offline, so I'm available this week if you want to talk. Any comment, Becky, any comment in regard to FFLs doing safe storage as a pawn shop? I've basically done this by doing very small loans on one or more firearms.
Yeah, here's my direction. You acquire it from the individual, name and address, etc. And if they want their gun back, they're going to have to do a 4473 and a background check. You cannot just give their gun back to them.
And guys, there's a big push. I've had several emails on this last week and today even on the safe storage. This is a voluntary act on your part as an FFL. In no way is it required or mandatory. And some states where they're trying to put this in as a requirement at the state level for the FFL, it's just don't listen to that right now. I mean, there's many FFLs out there who, one, probably don't have the room to do safe storage, two, don't have the logistics to do it. And three, you're taking on a risk. You're managing a process for someone else. And hey, it's a nice thing to do. We understand people want to give up their guns for whatever reasons, or they're mandated to give up their firearms. But we can talk offline about that. But don't think this is coming everywhere, because it's not. And to JC's point, there's a lot. What happens when that person can't get the gun back? Who owns it? You're gonna have contracts in place. There's legalities, there's liabilities, etc. Right. Is there a deadline from Gus? Is there a deadline for responding to selective traces?
24 hours. Typically in those situations, trace requests are 24 hours. Now, if they're asking for a lot of stuff, you can certainly ask the ATF, hey, look, it's going to take me a little while to pull all this stuff together. But if it's a true trace request, then, but these selective traces, these, gathering evidence situations, typically they're going to give you the necessary time to go through your records.
The big deal here is to stay in touch with the person calling, knowing that they might be phishing or they might be legitimate. But either way, just don't leave them hanging. Just don't not respond to them. And in the case I explained last week, this guy was so hot to come in and pick up the forms at 3 o'clock in the afternoon down in our Arkansas. We said, wait a minute, we don't have it, and we're paper, and we got to sift through this, and 2 people are doing it. And if you want to come and sift through paper, have at it. And of course he wouldn't. And within 48 hours, we realized there were no transfers, no sales. And that was the phone call returned to him. And he was like, oh, okay, thanks. Anyway, call us if you need help on those. Langford, hello, Langford. And Langford, I hope you're happy we got FFLC Academy going for you. He says, is there a standard or typical format for creating a compliance action plan?
No, there's not a standard. We kind of have a standard format that we use, but no, there's not a standard.
Yeah, a compliance action plan is going to be in response to your report of violations or issues identified during an inspection. So we have a template. It's about 80 pages long. We fill in the blanks. We take out a lot of unnecessary information. Might have to add other information, but
it all very much depends on your inspection and what the findings were and what the situation is that you're in.
Yeah, and what the ATF is calling for.
Yep.
Right. It's taken us years to get to 80 pages, but we think we got everything in there now.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, do you need a Type 07 to disassemble a handgun and sell its parts?
Disassemble a handgun and sell it.
Disassembly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to change the configuration.
You have to change the configuration of it. Reach out to us on that and let's talk about what you're doing there. If it's, a handgun that, came in and something's not functioning, whatever the case may be, it's a little bit of a gray area, but call us offline and let's talk about that. That's a challenging one. Typically, yes, you would have to if you're changing the classification of a firearm, but there could be a scenario there where you're just parting it out.
Yeah, I guess if you're reusing a receiver or frame, that would be a disassembly. If you're just destroying and then holding on to triggers and hammers and parts and pieces.
Yeah, that's a different story. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So is there a military discount?
Yeah.
Well,
our prices are very fair. I can't tell you that an attorney is going to drop their rates because you're a veteran or in the military. So I myself am a veteran as well. We try to keep our prices very fair.
Cool, Alex. I'll tell you, get it right the first time. Invest more in compliance than on legality, your defense. RJ says, can we get more clarification on a pending or sale to under 21 years of age? It was too confusing. We don't even sell to anyone under the age of 21. Rather play it safe.
RJ, I don't know if you're talking about the pause between the 18-year-old and 21-year-old, or if you're talking about Illinois law, what you're talking about there. So
yeah, give us a call.
Give us a call on that one. If we're talking about the 18 to 20 year old thing, typically what happens with those, what we're seeing quite a bit is, there's you'll get that initial 3-day delay, and then you'll get the follow-up of 10 days. They should have gotten all of that stuff fixed. So now you're seeing more and more of the 18 to 20-year-olds be delayed further than the 3 days. So, but give us a call so we can walk through the specific scenario with you.
Yeah. For others with that 3-day delay under 21, they will initially always get delayed, but they can get proceeded within the same day, next day, or within those 3 days. But we have found that on the third day, if FBI still needs more time, they'll call you. But if it's still in delay and they're under 21, check your NICS status screen. Make sure it hasn't been extended without notification to you.
RJ just texted me. I'll call him.
Yeah. Just for everyone else, on any delay, always check the NICS status before you transfer on that the Brady date. So expired Brady date.
And you point of contact states, a lot of times you're not even allowed to do anything until you get an actual proceed. So.
All right, Pesker. When logging in a suppressor, should the information, make, model, serial number, caliber, all be taken off of the Form 3 exactly as it's typed or directly off the suppressor? I was told 2 different ways, and we've seen discrepancies in the paper versus the suppressor. JC?
Say that again. Sorry, I was reading what somebody wrote.
Yeah, when logging in a suppressor, should the information be taken off the Form 3?
Yeah. Always take the information off of the firearm. Have you ever seen a case or a box or a piece of paper with the device at a crime scene? No, it's what's on the firearm. I know in certain scenarios, like with Smith & Wesson, a lot of times the Form 3 will say Smith & Wesson, but the device will say Gemtech because they purchased Gemtech. Just take the information directly off the device.
Yeah. And if you have questions, JC, should you call the NFA branch and discuss?
You can certainly give it a try. I don't know that they'll answer, nor will they respond to you in email very quickly because they're short-staffed, but you can certainly give it a go.
Yep. The other advice might be to list both. If it's
sure. Smith & Wesson / Gemtech, for example.
Yeah. There you go. Yep. Can't go wrong. Serial numbers.
Perfectly acceptable.
Kyle says if you need a Type 7 to change grips, add a plastic optic, swap barrels on a gun before selling it, does that need to be documented somehow?
As long as it's part for part. That's gunsmithing. Part for part is gunsmithing. If there's something wrong with the barrel and you're putting a new barrel on it, just depends on how far you're going. And actually, if you do a Google search, manufacturing versus gunsmithing, or reach out to us directly, we can send you our 2-part series on manufacturing gunsmithing that we published for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. That goes through all the different scenarios and kind of guides you through the gray area.
And if you go out to our website, fflconsultants.com, we actually, on the tools and resources page, actually have that article out there for you guys.
Yep.
Just go to tools and resources. All right, Tony, NICS on a background shows open after having a delay. We are past the Brady date. Transfer it or wait. Why would it come back open? Open simply means that it means FBI NICS has no idea what to tell you. Open means an extension of researching.
Yep.
After a certain amount of time, they change it. It's the same terminology, same status, researching and open and delay. Delay is the first 3 days, or delays until a Brady date expiration. Then it changes to researching, and then eventually changes to open, which means they'll never, until they close it, they're just going to leave it up to you to decide if you want to transfer that firearm.
Yeah. They're still working on it, or still waiting on somebody to research it, whether it be a runner to go find a piece of paper to see whether or not it's legal or not to transfer the firearm, things like that.
All right, Marcia says, with regards to middle name and initial, I've seen a customer write a full middle name, but the real ID and the U.S. passport both only had a middle initial. A note was made in box 32 that passport only had middle initial as the reason the full name was crossed out. Would a birth certificate hold more weight on this middle name issue? I've had a customer whose birth certificate had only an initial, but he'd always used a full middle name. What to do then? These would be questions in 4473. Yes, we will definitely include those.
Yeah. Yes, you have to get something that shows their full middle name. You have to verify their identity, and they identified that they have a middle name. You have to acquire a document that has a middle name. Yes, a birth certificate will work for that. Social security card, passport, a variety of different things.
Yeah.
Government issued.
Yeah, if you're crossing out that middle name and converting it
Oh,
to
don't
an
do that.
RI or
For
IO.
God's sake, don't do that.
That is like red flag. You might as well tell them to put the handcuffs on.
Yeah. Might as well tell them I'm just going to surrender my license now. Ouch.
Right. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for signing up. Hey, Jerry, thank you for FFL Academy. Oh, great. Already set up account. I look forward to it. Can you put the link to the Academy in the chat? JC, can you do
Sure.
that?
Yep.
Courses dot.
Yep.
Well, do the HTTPS. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Texas. Justin, thank you for putting it out there for them already. It's already in the chat there, guys.
Oh, there you go. Good.
All right.
Save me the trouble.
Will you please show the link again? Thank you, guys. Remember the first 300, 90 days free. And then when you're in the system, you have to be in the system to get all the updates and find out when new courses are posted and published. So make sure you get you and your team and your friends all in the system. It's free to get in the system. All right, clarifying, understand. Thanks, Quawend. Clarify. Oh, this is Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Clarifying understanding on middle name. If the driver's license says only middle initial, we just put the middle initial, right?
No. They have a middle name. They have a middle name. They must document their full legal name.
Otherwise, they're lying.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're falsifying the form. And if you read that warning at the top, there's a $250,000 and 15 years in prison for that.
Yep.
So you don't want to be telling them to do that either. You lose your license.
Yep.
Yeah. Just signed up. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Shannon. Thank you, everybody, for signing up. When will you be adding a course, how to fill out 4473? We hope to have that out within before New Year's.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna
before
do
New
it.
Year's. JP, I know you're on the phone. JP's throwing his coffee at the camera right now. Guys, we were up till midnight, several nights in a row trying to get this ready for you, and we are ready. We know how it works. We've got lots of tutoring on it. We will have the 4473 hopefully up by New Year's. There you go. Todd, my phone, JP's sending me nasty notes on the phone already. Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. Todd says, regarding the question about double entry on the 07, does that apply to a SIG FCU purchase, fire control unit?
Oh, if you're turning it into something, yes. Right now, it comes in as a frame. You're going to convert it into a P, whatever, 365. You're gonna go ahead and dispose of that to yourself and then reacquire it as a completed firearm.
Yeah, you reacquire it from yourself too.
Yeah, reacquire it from yourself.
Yep.
Your FFL name and your FFL number.
Yep.
It's just showing the history of the firearm.
Yep. On Tuesday, December 6th, you did this. Yeah, you change it from a frame to a rifle, whatever, a frame to a handgun. RJ, thank you. You're very active today, RJ. You're catching up for lost time here. Let's say a customer forgets to put a space between a name or hyphenate a name. Is that okay?
Yeah, it'd be splitting hairs. I would be hard pressed to find an IOI that had a problem with it. They'd figure it out.
Yeah. Here's what we say. We have two classic lines. We say, first of all, more is better than less.
Yep.
And then as long as the right information is in the right box before the ATF inspector sees it, you should be okay.
Yeah.
That
would be a hard one to push as far as a citable violation.
Yeah. All right. Must middle name. Matt says, must middle name be included in A&D book for acquisition on guns logged in for guns?
No. First and last name is fine.
Langford, yes. Academy, yes, for you, buddy. Shannon, can you post your email and phone number? At the end, Shannon, at the end. Oh, let me do this.
Yeah, just switch the slide.
There we go. Hang on a minute, guys. Trying to switch. There we go. Okay, there's our email and phone numbers.
Yep. And that middle phone number there, the 0028, that's our main line. Make sure you go through the prompts so the call gets routed properly. I had somebody call up today asking me about ammunition, and they went to the NFA line. And that email info@ goes to both of us. So
yeah. If you send it to info, that goes to both of us. So we can.
And then our direct line 0093-0092. You can text us and call us at those numbers.
Yep.
Those are our direct lines, and they ring through on everything that we have: computers, phones, cell phones, you name it. And if I don't pick up, JB will pick up. JB doesn't pick up, I'll pick up.
Yep. And guys, here's the emergency. I'll give you guys, since you are loyal ambassadors, if it's critical, ATF standing in front of you, a straw purchase right in front of you, customers right in front of you, just call, and you get a voicemail, just call right back. if we see her calling twice in a row, that means it's an emergency. We know that, and we've been there. We know there's somebody standing in front of you. We'll try to get right back to you. Okay. Becky says, can I legally require handgun buyers to have an Iowa permit? Every call I have done is delayed and not ever a proceed. No, that's like Texas. Yeah, the shortcut to avoiding a delay in Texas is to ask for an LTC, a license to carry. And the answer is, if the ATF sees, my thought is, my opinion, if the ATF sees you not doing background checks on people and just using carry permits, first of all, carry permit is typically good for 5 years, permitted for the exemption. And who knows what that person's been doing for 5 years. Me as a gun dealer wouldn't feel comfortable if somebody had an LTC from, maybe 4.5 years ago or 3 years ago, and I don't know the person. It's your option. Correct me if I'm wrong, JC. So option to accept the LTC or carry permit, first of all, in lieu of.
It is your option, yes.
Yeah, I have some, and Becky, quite honestly, we find the opposite. Most gun dealers, if they don't know the customer, they won't accept a carry permit. They'll do a background check to make sure they sleep good at night, knowing they did a bona fide background check, even though that person may have had a carry permit. So it kind of goes both ways, but it is your choice. Jay Plechner says, thank you, JC. Yes, you'll see him. Matt says, must middle name be included in A&E book? We said no. Okay, I'm guns logged in for gunsmithing. Gun Owl. Who is Gun Owl? I don't know who that is. If my FFL is in my personal name, but now I have a state and FIN for the business, should I get new FFL for the business? Oh, yeah.
The follow-up question to that is, are you still a sole proprietor, or did you establish an LLC and register yourself with the state? If you did a trade name only or a fictitious name with your state and you're still operating as a sole proprietor, you can continue to operate as so. Yeah. I mean, there's more questions there. So Gun Owl, reach out to me. But if you're Gun Owl Firearms LLC now and you want to operate under that, and you no longer want to be a sole proprietor, call me on that. Yes, you would have to apply for a new license. So there's some other questions that need to be asked there.
Yeah,
so you can operate as a sole proprietor and have a fictitious name or a DBA registered with the state. But once you transition into an LLC and want to operate under that LLC as a business, then it's a different story.
Yeah, Gun Owls, I recommend you call. If anybody with entity issues or licensing issues, JC is the guy. Just contact him directly. But yeah, you need to get some discussion on that. User to everyone says, for alternative government documentation, is it okay to use information shown online, such as an MVD website?
Yeah, you can look at something online, but you got to verify that it's actually government.
Yeah. Yeah, most states allow that now, as long as if you were able to show
the state recognizes it.
Yeah, if you were able to show the police officer on the side of the road your driver's license or something else on a government issued website, your state allows for it and recognizes it. It's all good. Arizona, I get those calls all the time.
Yeah, Colorado too. Colorado has an app you can use your driver's license. So
Scott 1000s, thank you for registering. Washington Pawn, W8 Pawn, thank you guys. Excellent. Kyle, rephrasing my previous question, do I need a 44, do I need a type 7 FFL to add a red dot to a quick Glock 43 MOS prior to selling it? If so, what? No. Not optics,
no.
sights.
No, no optics.
JC, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it basically changing or upgrading the configuration of the firearm that requires manufacturing?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, adding accessories and changing like parts for like parts, repairs and replacement is all gunsmithing. Yeah. Shannon, great presentation. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Gun Owl. Oh, Gun Owl is something about LLC. Gun Owl, call JC.
Yeah, call me.
Roland says, Guy, I know we beat this one to death, but I want to be very clear. If a customer has a DL that only displays the initial but has a full middle name, a second government issued form of ID with the full middle name is required.
Yes. 26B, document in 26B.
Hey guys, we know that's a pain in the ass, and everybody, everywhere in every state is having a problem with this. But guess what? You're the gun dealer, and it's up to you whether or not you want to lose your license. I have Rick. Rick, I don't know if you're on today over in Pennsylvania. You know who you are. He calls me once a week with this issue. So just to confirm, if they have a middle name on the form, they have to have government issued documentation showing the full legal middle name, which you're going to use during the background check.
Yep.
Perfect.
And Washington Pawn Association, whoever you are, if their ID shows IO and they write IO only, but they do truly have a middle name, it asks for their full legal name.
Cool.
So why their ID says initial only, I have no idea. If their full legal middle name is there, then they have to use it.
Yep. And
they have to
remember,
supply
guys,
documentation that shows
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'll close with this. Well, first of all, happy holidays and thanks for joining us today and sign up for FFLC Academy. But hey, you are the gun dealer, you are the licensee. The customer's not always right in some cases. And hey, if you ever need a second opinion, call us. I get 3 or 4 a week where I know I know the FFL is using me as the bad guy, and they're calling me asking, "Hey, JB, I've got a customer here, blah, 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 blah." And I say, "No, you can't transfer, an AR to somebody from Massachusetts who's standing in your store in Wyoming."
Yep.
It's not, the customer always thinks they're right. So be very careful. Don't feel pressured. Yeah. We can be the heavy.
You're the licensee.
We want to make sure you guys don't get in trouble. So. With that, JC, I think we're good. Thank you, everyone. Stacy. Oh, hey, Stacy. Nice to see you. I do need to reach out to you on some other issues, but I'll call you this week on some things I left untended to after the inspection. If anybody has more questions about premium retail membership with NSSF, call us directly. Don't sign up online without contacting you or us, because if you don't select JC or John Clark or John Bacher, they're going to assign somebody else as your consultant.
And it becomes a nightmare for us to get it reassigned to us.
Yeah, we don't like doing that. Otherwise, they're going to randomly assign you the next consultant in line for a job or for a visit. So if you got any questions about that, let us know. Otherwise, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and we love you guys.
All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. We'll be talking to you in January. You need us, call us. You got our numbers.